Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Nothing Fancy Acres. I'm Nathan. Got Murphy and Flynn out this morning. They're just running around like a couple degenerates. So, this morning we're going to go over some of the changes that we've made here in the past week, some of the work that we've done. We haven't had much time to do any filming of the work because life and work and all kinds of other things we have going on. So, we're going to start out by checking on the chickens. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. What is shaking? We're gonna let them out. We actually started free ranging them some, and it's pretty funny because uh, they like to hang out up in the tree and on the rake and on the baler and pretty much anywhere that keeps them off the ground. You'll find them. So, another topic that we're going to cover in this video is we'll go have a seat on the porch and sit down and talk about just some of what it takes to get to where we're at. Obviously we're in the very infancy of this homesteading slash small farm journey that we're on, but it is something that takes a ton of work, and I feel like that's something we could hit on. That way, if you feel like you're wanting to take that leap, we can give you a little bit of guidance and just go over some of what we've done. So, one thing that's changed or been improved upon is we now have stone dust in all of the stalls. Oop. So we need to pack it down just a little bit better, level some areas out. But yeah, so we've got that going on. Also, our neighbor, who is a retired electrical engineer from PPL, he ran outlets for the electric fence. He also ran some receptacles for lighting. And we now have plugs in each stall overhead. Now, the bulbs, they're just temporary lighting, uh, just just to see, if they were going to work and all that stuff. We're actually going to get shop lights, LED shop lights, and hang those up nice and high so that they're out of the way of the horses. We don't run any risk of them banging their heads around. Another thing that we got was stall mats, big old pile of them for every single stall. So this first stall, that's going to be where Amanda's tack room will be. The second stall will be where we keep the feed and hay, and then the third and fourth stall will be where the horses stay. We've been checking on our hay pile regularly. That's looking pretty good, looking rather blue. Funny. So another change, or a purchase, if you will, acquisition, is our new hay wagons. So we picked those up from a guy locally. Our neighbor across the street, Dave, you've heard about him in some of our other videos. Best neighbor you could ever ask for. He's honestly been like a father figure to me, or to us, I should say. Having lost my dad last year, kind of needed some steering and direction, and Dave's really stepped up into that role. So we appreciate you more than you know, Dave. So anyway, back to the point. We picked up these two hay wagons plus this fluffer tedder last week. Got a killer deal on them. Overall, the running gears are in really good shape. Gonna need to replace some tires, maybe get some tubes and some other ones. There's some oddball sizes on there. If you're looking, the wagons look a little crooked, but that's honestly mostly because of the odd size tires. So that's some of what we've had going on. It hasn't been too active, but we've also been working a ton away from the homestead. So we're just in that season at the moment where progress is kind of slowing down at the moment. Now, come August, after we get back from our vacation, we'll pick right back up. So overtime's going to be slowing down, and we've got a lot of exciting stuff coming up in the next 2 months. Things that'll kind of make the homestead look a lot more like an actual homestead than a work in our work in progress. So let's go back up to the porch and we'll just have a sit down and talk about what we're doing and how we got here. So like I said, the second part of this video, it's going to be just kind of going over how we've gotten to where we're at. You know, the reality is what we're doing, it's not what you see on TikTok, it's not what you see on Instagram, you know, all the cute videos of, you know, those special moments. Sure, those special moments happen, but we keep those to ourselves. What we're highlighting in our videos is the reality of it. You know, so what does it take to get a homestead, to buy a homestead, to get it going? So a little history here. My wife and I, we started dating about 4.5 years ago. Met each other after we had gone through our own circumstances. We were both starting fresh. I had a one-bedroom apartment and a dog. That's all I had to offer. I don't think I even had a savings account at that point. Same with Amanda. She had a dog. She was living in a friend's basement, and you know she was just getting out of college again, kind of getting out of her own situation. And so we really started fresh 4.5 years ago. So fast forward to where we're at now, it didn't take much time. That being said, it took a ton of effort and a ton of communication. So, our first bullet point here is first and foremost, you have to have a good spouse and strong communication. You know, Amanda and I, we are running on all cylinders all the time. You know, our marriage, it's not without flaws by any means. We are not the perfect couple. Uh, but we're perfect for each other. You know, we're able to, you know, build on each other's strengths, work with each other's weaknesses, and having that ability to work together and move forward. It's imperative to something like this, and it's imperative to any household, but especially this scenario. And again, communication. You know, being able to talk about uncomfortable topics like when we brought our budgets together and brought all of our money into one pot. That was a tough topic for both of us, you know, but also good topics like, hey, you're doing a great job with this. Hey, let's do this. You know, stuff that you want to accomplish, goals that you want to get done. You know, just having that ability to communicate with each other is huge. The next thing is patience, time, and delayed gratitude. You have to be patient. 4.5 years seems like a short time, but to us it feels like, you know, there were moments where it just felt like it was a slug. You know, obviously we're at where we're at now, but 4.5 years is a long time, but it's also a short time. You just have to be patient, allow yourself the time to process what you're doing, and having that delayed gratitude is also huge, which leads us into our next topic. So having financial literacy, being able to budget, and also keeping your career in mind. Those are important things. So financial literacy, what's coming in and what's going out. Budgeting. So what we found works for us may not work for everybody, but for us, you know, we have a shared spreadsheet. We know exactly what bills are coming out when, and we generally have a good idea as to what we're going to get come payday, what bills need to be paid, what's going into savings, and what do we need to spend. Um, you know, that financial literacy also goes with a lot of the stuff that we have going on, the equipment that we've purchased, the house. You know, having a good mortgage broker, that's huge. Um, and also just don't drive yourself into debt. You know, a mortgage, that's one thing. You know, anybody in their 20s and 30s, historically, they're going to have a mortgage. You know, allow yourself that breathing room. Don't get a mortgage that's so big that you don't have room for other things like being able to buy equipment and being able to rent equipment as needed, and being able to build in for things like vet visits and animals that you want, things of that nature. don't try to cram it all into one space. You're going to become overwhelmed so fast, and it's going to make the experience unenjoyable, and you're just not going to want anything to do with it. And being career minded, what are you good at? What's your skill set, and what's going to make you the money that allows you the freedom to be able to be a homesteader or a small farmer. The reality is, we're probably not gonna be at a point in these next 5 to 10 years where one of us can just quit our job. You have to be realistic, and so having the ability to sustain the lifestyle that you want in a homestead or a small farm is important. And so in my case, I'm a mechanic. I've been a mechanic my entire life, and I have the freedom to work as much overtime as I want. In Amanda's case, she works for the state government. She has the flexibility to work from home. And so supporting each other in that way where someone's the breadwinner and someone's the homemaker, you've got to have that balance. We are a little more traditional in that way. And I'm not sure how other people can make it work in any other way. You have to have that balance between each other in your household with careers and maintaining the home front. Next step is goals. What do you want out of your homestead? What do you want to produce? What do you want to create? What are the hobbies that you want to focus on? For us, it's horses, it's chickens, it's I love collecting antique equipment. Um, and so figuring out what you need to be able to sustain those goals of yours, the things that you enjoy, it's important because there's a lot of back end to it too that even we missed. For example, something as simple as horses. What what do you need to do to get utilities out to the barn? You need water, you need electricity, you need lighting. With chickens, you need feed. Chickens are pretty easy. We can actually leave them out. They just need feed and a roof. Um, Equipment. You need somewhere to store the equipment that's not, that's out of the weather, whether it be a pole barn or lean to, some massive structure, whatever the case may be. That also goes back to your financial situation. That's all dictated by that. So having those goals and giving yourself things to focus on and work towards, makes it just as enjoyable because at that point it becomes a hobby. You have something that you're really enjoying, uh, and something that just kind of drives the whole experience. And then finally, something that people don't really think about is leaning on your neighbors and friends. We are fortunate that we have awesome neighbors, awesome, awesome neighbors. Um, the guy behind us, he again is the one that wired up the barn. He's the electrical engineer. The people next to us, I've known them in my entire life, and so my grandma's our neighbor. The guy across the street, he's awesome. He's the guy that's like a dad to me. And so having those neighbors is it makes the whole experience that much more enjoyable. Also, having family and friends that are patient with you and want to see you guys succeed and enjoy watching what you're up to, that's big. You accumulate this audience without even realizing it, and it's not an all eyes on you type of scenario in the way that people are waiting for the next worst thing or something like that. It's nothing imminent like that. It's just, hey, what are you up to? How can we help? We love watching you guys grow. Like having those people in your life is so massive, and it just helps bring everything together. When we have small gatherings here, it's an indescribable feeling in the way that they love seeing the growth, and that's not us bragging, it's just the reality. Again, it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of budgeting, but when you have people to share that experience with, it's just wonderful. And so to cap it all off, you know going back through the bullets, and enjoy what you're doing. You know, let it be a hobby until maybe you can make it more sustainable for yourselves. If that's not your goal, that's fine. You know, but also remember, you need something to pay for your hobby. Um, you know, at the end of the day, just enjoy it. Allow it to flow, and even in the tough moments, try to find the brightness, because you'll get through it, whether you're, you know, again, paying for vet bills, or there's an equipment breakdown, or, you know, something's always going to be coming up. Get through it, power through it, stick together, lean on your community, lean on your people, and just enjoy the whole experience. You know, that's what we're here for. And so, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. If anybody has any questions that are more specific to what they would like to do, or any questions, or need some guidance on how to get to where they want to be, let us know. You know, if you see something that you like that we're doing and you're not quite sure how to get there, we can probably help point you in the right direction. We don't have all the answers, but we can certainly try to help. Thanks for watching today's video, and if you liked what you saw, give us a like and subscribe. Have a great day, everyone.